Hey everyone, welcome to this Forge College Explainer. So, in our last session on closures and higher order functions, we definitely stretched our brains. That was a serious mental workout, right? Well, today, as part of our Introduction to Solidity and Basic Syntax module, we're shifting gears. We're moving from all that deep theory to something super grounded, incredibly practical, and honestly, visually satisfying. We are talking about leveraging events and logging mechanisms. Basically, we are going to build a literal blockchain megaphone. Let's dive right into exactly how to declare and emit events in Solidity.
All right, here's our engineering schematic for today. First, we'll hit the blueprint of events. Second, declaring events. Third, emitting signals. Fourth, the whole indexed versus non-indexed debate. And fifth, real contract assembly.
Okay, kicking things off with part one, the blueprint of events, a mechanism for off-chain communication. Think of your smart contract, kind of like a heavy-duty machine operating behind locked factory doors. Events? Well, they're the cheap, heroic exhaust system that lets the outside world know, hey, this machine is actually running and producing something. Formally speaking, an event is an on-chain log entry emitted by a contract to describe occurrences, and it's stored in transaction logs rather than contract storage. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that events act exactly like store receipts for external listeners. Like when you buy a coffee, the cafe doesn't buy a massive steel vault to permanently hold a physical copy of your receipt, right? They just hand you the receipt and keep a super lightweight log. Events give us that exact same gas-efficient audit trail without permanently bloating your incredibly expensive contract storage on the blockchain. Moving right along to part two, declaring your event. Basically, drafting the schematics. Before we can start shouting to the blockchain, we have to draft our blueprint. We do this using the event keyword. You can see it here, like event foo, passing in an indexed address and an unsigned integer. What's kind of cool is that this declaration looks almost exactly like a standard typed template or a regular function signature. But that specific event keyword, that tells the Ethereum virtual machine, the EVM, that we are creating a structural blueprint for a log, not executable code. And here is a fact that I absolutely love sharing. The gas costs for this declaration? Zero. Literally nothing. Zilch. Simply sketching this blueprint into your contract costs you absolutely zero gas for storage allocation. You aren't allocating any expensive contract state. You are literally just setting up the template. All right, part three, emitting the signal, or igniting the engine. Now, a blueprint obviously doesn't make any noise on its own. To actually fire off the signal during a state change, we have to light the spark. And we do that using the emit keyword. It's used to encode the parameters you want to share, and it actually writes that log entry right into the transaction's receipt. You can think of emit as the ignition switch. It brings your blueprint to life and writes that log into existence on the chain. By placing this exact line of code, emit foo, passing in the sender and the amount, right after a state change inside your function, you instantly alert off-chain indexers. Services like the Graph or, various wallet analytics tools, they instantly know that something important just went down. The very second the transaction is mined, this broadcasted signal is live. But wait a second. I want you to think about the sheer scale of the blockchain for a minute. Millions of transactions, countless contracts. If every single contract is out there just blasting events nonstop, finding your specific event sounds like an absolute nightmare, right? Like, how does a wallet actually search through all these transaction logs quickly without having to download the entire history of the blockchain? Which brings us perfectly to part four, indexed versus non-indexed, the great trade-off. So, this is our core engineering trade-off. We have to decide what goes into a fast, highly organized filing cabinet and what gets thrown into a big, cheap cardboard box. Index parameters use special structures called topics and Bloom filters for incredibly fast filtering. You definitely want to use these for things you need to search by, like wallet addresses. Non-indexed data, on the other hand, well, that requires off-chain consumers to do the heavy lifting of full decoding. It's basically your data payload. It's slightly cheaper on log overhead, which makes it perfect for long text descriptions or massive chunks of data that you just want to read once you've already found the event. But here's the catch. You can't just index everything to make it fast. Remember this magic number, 3. Solidity strictly limits you to a maximum of 3 indexed parameters per event. That's the hard cap. It basically forces you to be a highly efficient engineer, making you prioritize exactly which 3 pieces of data are absolutely crucial for searchability. We also have a structural choice to make here. Named events versus anonymous events. Named events are super easy to identify because their signature is automatically included as a searchable topic. Now, you can declare anonymous events to save a tiny bit of space, which honestly sounds like some secret blockchain society, but actually, you'll almost always want to stick with standard named events. That way, wallets and indexers know exactly what they are looking at without any guesswork. Okay, part 5, building a real contract. Let's assemble the marketplace logger. Let's finally take all these theoretical parts off the drafting table and assemble them. In our purchase-made event declaration here, notice how we strategically indexed the buyer and the item ID for fast database queries. A friend end will almost definitely need to ask, hey, show me all purchases by this specific buyer. But notice we left the price unindexed to save on gas fees. Why? Well, because we rarely, if ever, need to filter the entire blockchain for every single transaction that was exactly 1.5 ETH, right? It's just not necessary. Inside our payable function, the logical sequence is actually beautifully simple. Step 1, we accept the payment and change the state, like incrementing our purchase counter. Step 2, we emit our lean, searchable, indexed event for those quick queries. And step 3, we can even follow it up by emitting a verbose event packed with string descriptions in the data payload, specifically for the user interface to eventually display. And how do we know it actually worked? You check the transaction receipt. When you take this schematic and test it locally in an environment like Remix, checking the transaction receipt is your definitive proof. You should see 2 distinct logs pop up, one perfectly structured with index topics for fast searching, and one holding the heavier data payload. This literally proves your code successfully updated the state and broadcast the signals. Finally, part 6, testing and next steps. Let's do our final inspection. As we finish up our assembly today, let's run through our final inspection checklist. First, remember events don't use expensive contract storage. Second, you have a hard maximum of 3 indexed fields per event. Don't forget that. Third, keep large payloads non-indexed. Always index only the exact fields you need to search by. Otherwise, indexing massive string arrays will make your wallet and your gas fees cry. And finally, always validate your work by checking that transaction receipt. So, we've built our blockchain megaphone and we know exactly how to shout into it. But what happens if we want to programmatically listen to these off-chain events in real time? How do we actually catch those signals? Well, that provocative question leads perfectly into our next explainer on listening off-chain. Until then, please head over to forge.college to master more Web3 engineering topics with us. Thank you so much for joining this Forge College explainer. Keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next one.